The call came at 7:12 a.m. Not a voice, a message. They can't log in. I stood across the street from the building I built without my name on it. Glass. Steel. My code humming behind walls that didn't know me anymore. Employees clustered at the entrance, tapping badges that blinked red. Confused. Irritated. Afraid. No one looked at me. Good. My phone vibrated again. Another message. Then another. Servers looping. Licenses invalid. Dashboards blank. I watched the panic ripple outward like a slow infection. Security arguing with IT. Executives arriving early, faces tight, pretending control. Yesterday, this place belonged to a 16-year-old boy who still needed permission to stay up past midnight. Yesterday, his grandfather had laughed and pressed a folded bill into my palm. Your actual value. I remembered the weight of that bill, the way it burned. Inside me, something finally went quiet. I turned away from the building and started walking. They still hadn't realized what was missing. They still thought I was gone. A year earlier, the company was a corpse, bankrupt, hollow, numbers bleeding red. I didn't save it with speeches. I saved it with systems. I built software that predicted supply chain failures before they happened, that automated negotiations, that cut waste so precisely it felt cruel. Profits followed, then headlines, then reverence. My wife's father stopped calling me by my first name. He called me family, until the birthday, 16 candles, a speech about legacy, applause, champagne I didn't drink. Then the announcement. The entire company, gifted, transferred, signed. I smiled because everyone else did. Inside, I searched for the joke. There wasn't one. Later, alone in his office, I asked him what I was supposed to do now. He laughed. Not nervous, not embarrassed, amused. The $100 bill appeared like a magician's trick. This is your actual value. In that moment, I understood something I'd refused to see all year. I was never family. I was labor, temporary, replaceable, and they believed I had already given them everything. I didn't argue, didn't threaten, didn't explain. I went home and packed quietly. Then I started reading. Contracts I'd written at 3 a.m, clauses they'd skimmed, ownership structures they'd assumed were standard. I watched my wife sleep and realized she'd never asked whose name the code belonged to. I checked the repositories, the license keys, the fail-safes. I remembered every compromise I'd made to move faster, every shortcut hidden behind "we'll fix it later." Later had arrived. I ran simulations, pulled logs, tested revocations. The company's intelligence, its foresight, its margins, its miracle, wasn't the building. It was a permission, and permission could be withdrawn. I still answered messages politely, still nodded when people thanked me for everything. Inside, the storm stayed contained, cold, deliberate. I set the timer. At 6 a.m., the licenses expired. At 6:03, automated systems began rolling back to default logic. At 6:10, profit forecast collapsed. By the time they called me, I already knew the numbers. I met my father-in-law in the same office where he'd laughed. I placed a single document on his desk, a license agreement, my signature, termination clause highlighted. He didn't read it all. He didn't have to. His face folded inward, like something finally giving up. "This is illegal," he whispered. I shook my head. "It's contractual." For the first time, he looked at me. Really looked. Not family. Not labor. A threat he'd underestimated. He offered money, equity, apologies that sounded rehearsed. I listened, calm. Then I slid the $100 bill across the desk. "I kept it," I said. Silence stretched. I stood. "The company is worth what it can see," I continued. "Without me, it's blind." I walked out while he was still calculating how fast blindness spreads. By noon, investors were calling emergency meetings. By evening, the stock was in freefall. I didn't watch. I didn't need to. That night, I deleted the last backup. Not out of anger, out of completion. I felt lighter. Not vindicated. Clear. Some people build empires to be admired, others to be owned. I built mine to leave. The $100 bill is still in my wallet, not as a reminder of what they took, but of what they never understood.